What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, guys, so we are finally going to do some Thor on this channel because I feel like we never do Thor. We did Ultimate Thor, but that was in the Ultimate Marvel universe, but we never done a Thor video on this channel. So why not now? Why not do Donny Cates Thor? Because this dude's Thor, what I read so far, is pretty amazing. And the artwork, beautiful as well. Like, can I say this is probably one of the best things Marvel had put out back in the year 2020. And so with that being said, we're going to cover Donny Cates Thor Volume 1, which of course is him becoming the Herald of Galactus. But also on top of that, they have a new enemy. This new enemy is called the Black Winter. And this is Donny Cates kind of setting up things to come down the road in his future books for Thor and possibly other books he has written as well. And so with that being said, here we go. Thor by Donny Cates, Volume 1, The Black Winter. Now, when it comes to the first few pages of this book, it's really more of Marvel reminding us that this takes place right after War of the Realms, because we actually pick up with the Hammer of Thor as the hammer travels across the different realms in the Marvel universe that are related to Asgard. And so with that being said, we have to remember that before this book came out, we had an entire Thor event that was called War of the Realms, which honestly, that event was huge. Not like, oh my God, it was amazing. More of like, there were a lot of content for that one particular event. But either way, though, that event ended. But of course, now there's peace across all the different realms. On top of that, Thor is actually king of Asgard. But we actually pick up with the Hammer of Thor traveling between all the different realms to only appear on Midgard, of course, Earth, to help the Avengers out. Because right now on Earth, you have the Avengers actually fighting against some kind of monster. But Thor had basically sent his hammer to travel between all the different realms to only appear at Midgard the very last second to basically go through the monster head to kill off the monster as a way to help the Avengers out. But at the same time, it's Thor kind of telling us he kind of feels bored. A tad bit, just a tad bit bored. Because now he's king of Asgard now. And so after the monster is defeated, you do have Thor recall his hammer, and his hammer does come back over to him. Now, while his hammer is coming back to him, of course, the hammer goes back to Asgard. But this is Marvel kind of telling us or showing us or giving us a chance to see how Asgard is like being under Thor's rule, because now Thor is the one in charge. He's the one in charge of the kingdom of Asgard. Odin is no longer around. On top of that, we have to remember that Sif, Lady Sif, is now basically Heimdall. She replaced Heimdall, so now she controls the Bifrost. Of course, the Bifrost is a way for people to travel across the different realms that are related to Asgard. But right now, this is Marvel kind of showing us a few things, kind of reminding us that now Thor is king of Asgard and Sif is now basically Heimdall. She is the keeper of the Bifrost. Now, this is the moment we do actually see Thor go into his throne room, because now he has to get ready to address Asgard. Now, you would think he would actually go through that task. He would sit down and handle different problems that are popping up across Asgard. But he doesn't, because he wants to be left alone. And this could be said about how Thor feels about being king, because right now Thor kind of feels like he should not be king. He's beginning to doubt himself. At the same time, he beginning to feel like he is unworthy for his hammer once again, because the hammer is becoming too heavy for him, or heavier. And so now it's Thor kind of wondering, could he be a great king? But on top of that, is he becoming unworthy for his hammer once again? And so like I said earlier, he was supposed to address different problems that were popping up across Asgard, but he decided to not do that. Instead, he wanted to be left alone. Now, that is the moment you have Loki appear. Now, of course, Loki is also a king, but not king of Asgard. Instead, Loki is king of the Frost Giants. Now, with that being said, though, of course, we have to know that when it comes to Thor and Loki, they do have bad blood between them, but at the same time, they still care for one another in their own way because they are brothers in their own way. And so, with that being said, you do have Loki kind of picking on his big brother Thor by basically wondering if Thor could be a great king or if Thor is worried about being the king of Asgard. Now, of course, you have Thor kind of ignore Loki's questions, but you did have Loki say, it's strange because usually when it comes to your hammer, you never had any kind of problem lifting it up. But right there, you grunt a tad bit. That shows me that you are having some kind of struggles with lifting the hammer. Now, of course, that made Thor very angry. And so you have Thor actually throw his hammer right at Loki, but you didn't have Thor stop the hammer right in the face of Loki. Like he stops it right in midair to show Loki that no, he has no problem lifting his hammer. On top of that, Thor is more powerful than he ever was because again, he's now the king of Asgard. He holds the power Odin used to have a while back. And so Thor is more powerful than Loki remembers. But then you have Thor just walk away. Now that is the moment we actually get into the story of this whole crazy book I love so much. Because while you have Thor actually going outside to address the public of Asgard, to speak to them, to show them that he is their king, the great king of Asgard, that is the moment you have Galactus just crash down out of nowhere. And this is a very huge thing because this is Galactus. He goes around eating planets. He's a cosmic being. And so to see him just crash land right in the middle of Asgard, that tells Thor, hold up, that's Galactus. This only means one thing, trouble. Because Thor and Galactus have fought against one another for so many years in Marvel Comics, it makes sense for Thor to freak out and wonder if he should attack Galactus. Except when you have Thor go over to Galactus to get ready to actually attack him, you have Galactus begging for Thor to stop. And the reason why? Because it seems like Galactus had just lost a battle recently. He looks badly beaten. But of course, that is the moment you have Galactus tell Thor, the Black Winter is coming. And that right there, of course, is huge. Now, that is the moment we actually do pick up with Thor right now, calling in the past heralds of Galactus. Now remember, heralds are basically people who used to work for Galactus. And what I mean is that they would go around across the universe to find different planets for Galactus to eat. And of course, he would eat those planets to basically satisfy his hunger. Now, of course, the reason why Thor had called the past heralds here is because he's hoping they know what in the world is the Black Winter. Now, that is the moment you have the Silver Surfer appear. Now, remember, the Silver Surfer was the first herald that was introduced to us back in Fantastic Four books. But the reason why he's here right now is because he has the information that Thor wants to know about, which is that what is the Black Winter? Now, this is the moment you have the Silver Surfer say, do you know the actual origin of Galactus? Because when Galactus was a regular being, a regular man in a previous life of his, well, that life took place in the previous version of this universe. And basically, when it comes to Marvel, the main Marvel universe and other universes, they do get wiped out. But when they do get wiped out, they get remade. And so this is like the 7th, 8th, or 9th version of this universe. But what you have the Silver Surfer saying to Thor is that when it comes to Galactus and the previous version of this universe, he was just a regular man. But in that previous version, it was wiped out by the Black Winter, and Galactus was the only one to survive the end of the previous version of the universe. But of course, when he came back into the new version, he came back as Galactus. But then you have Silver Surfer say, Galactus is the only person who can actually stop the Black Winter. But to be able to actually do that, he has to find 5 key planets across the universe that will power Galactus just strong enough to stop the Black Winter. And so now it's Thor saying, okay, I have to help Galactus find 5 planets to eat those 5 planets to get their energy so that he'll be strong enough to actually stop the Black Winter. Cool, got a plan, let's do it. Now, of course, you do have Thor and the Silver Surfer actually go over to Galactus to tell Galactus, hey, here's the plan. Thor and I are going to help you find the 5 planets to eat those 5 planets to basically make you strong enough to stop the Black Winter. Now, this is the moment you actually have Galactus say, hey, before we do any of that stuff right there, I need to tell you the truth. And this right here is very important because you have Galactus say, when it comes to the Black Winter, when you actually look at the Black Winter, you actually see how you are going to die down the road. And Galactus has stared into the Black Winter twice. The first time when he was just a regular being, but of course that took place back in the previous version of this universe. But then he said, well, I looked at the Black Winter again, and I saw how I died this time. And well, of course, I died by the hands of Thor, meaning that when he looked at the Black Winter, he saw how he died, but he saw his death being done by Thor. And that is huge because now he is saying that Thor could possibly kill Galactus down the road because Galactus saw his death. But you didn't have Galactus say, that is the reason why I came here to Asgard. I didn't fall on Asgard by accident. I came here for a reason. Because if you're going to kill me, well, I want you to kill me by using my own power. Meaning that you have Galactus actually make Thor a herald. Now you have Thor being the herald of Galactus. So now Thor is even more powerful because Thor was a god already, but then he became the All Father of Asgard. Now he gained more power from Galactus. This dude is a walking tank, and that right there is going to be very important for this storyline. But again, Galactus said Thor is supposed to kill him. Now, getting into the second chapter of this storyline, we are kind of left to believe that this is a planet that is being killed off thanks to the Black Winter. Now, I have a theory that this is actually an Earth that had the Justice League protecting it. Like this is a DC Earth in the Marvel universe that's being wiped out by the Black Winter. And the reason why, because you do have a sun god, I say Superman. You have an Emerald Light, I say Green Lantern. And then you also have a gold god as well, and I say it's probably Wonder Woman. But those 3 characters are trying to stop the Black Winter from wiping out their planet. But of course, the Black Winter is just destroying everything in its path. Now, of course, when it comes to the Black Winter, it doesn't have an actual form. Matter of fact, the only time you see a form of the Black Winter is when you actually look at it to see your death. But after you see your death, you do see a form, but that form changes per person. And so with that being said, there's no actual form of the Black Winter. And right now we saw that. It's just kind of like a winter storm, a black winter storm that's just going through the universe, wiping out planets left and right. And this one right here just got wiped out. But then we actually do pick up with Thor being the herald of Galactus. Now, with that being said, though, you actually do have Thor right now and Galactus arriving at the first of 5 planets that Galactus needs to eat, because these 5 planets give Galactus a particular kind of energy. But that energy is going to help Galactus actually defeat the Black Winter. Now, With that being said, though, of course, when it comes to Thor finding out that there is life on this planet, you have Thor tell Galactus, no. People live on this planet right here. If you eat this planet, you're going to kill them as well. And so now Thor's new game plan is to have Galactus eat the other 4 planets, but not this one, and hoping that Galactus will still be strong enough to stop the Black Winter. But of course, Galactus is all like, you don't tell me no. I gave you the power of cosmic, so you do not tell me no. I am going to eat this planet because I want to. And so this actually does lead into a battle between Galactus and Thor, because right now Galactus wants to eat this planet, but to Thor, he wants to protect this planet. And so you have the two sides actually fight against one another. Now their fight is pretty cool, and you would think that Galactus should win the fight because he's more powerful than Thor. But here's the thing though, Galactus is still badly injured after fighting against the Black Winter earlier. On top of that right there, you have to remember, Thor has got really powerful. He was already a god, but then he became the All Father of Asgard. On top of that right there, he was given cosmic powers thanks to Galactus. And so right now, he could technically go toe-to-toe with Galactus with all these different factors playing in. But of course, while you have Thor and Galactus fighting against one another, you do actually have the people who were living on this planet attack Thor. And the reason why? Well, you have Thor tell us why. What Thor says is that when it comes to this planet, they had no gods here to praise. And so when they see two powerful beings crash on their planet, they believe that this could possibly mean the end of their planet, which of course is true because Galactus is here to actually eat their planet. Now, while Thor is trying to get away from the people who were living on this planet, Galactus had already begun the process of actually destroying the planet because Galactus wants to feed on this planet to make him more powerful enough to hopefully stop the Black Winter. Now, of course, that is the moment you actually have Thor call out to Sif, because remember, Sif replaced Heimdall, meaning that she has the Bifrost in her control, and the Bifrost is used to travel across the different realms. And so with that being said, you have Sif actually use the Bifrost to teleport every single creature that was living on this planet over to Asgard to protect them so that they will not die with their planet that Galactus is destroying right now. Now, Thor was only able to save the lives of the people that were living on the planet, not the creatures like animals that were living on the planet. But of course, Galactus was able to eat that planet alive, and so now Galactus is even stronger than he was before. Now, of course, you have Galactus getting ready to actually attack Thor, but that is the moment you have a bunch of bombs just go off and hit Galactus on his back. And the question is, though, what in the world is attacking Galactus now? Because it's not the Black Winter nor Thor, it's somebody else. And of course, that somebody else is Beta Ray Bill. And this is huge because now we're going to have Thor fight against Beta Ray Bill. Now, the reason why you have Beta Ray here right now is because he wants to get revenge against Galactus. Because when it comes to Galactus, Galactus destroyed the second home world that belonged to the people of Beta Ray Bill. And so that is why he's here right now, getting ready to basically kill off Galactus, or try to kill Galactus off. Now, on top of that, Beta Ray Bill also believes that there is a possibility that Thor is also corrupted by Galactus. And so this is really more of Beta Ray Bill saying, I am going to fight for you, brother, to make sure that you're okay. Because it seems like Galactus has corrupted you and also made you work for him. On top of that, I'm going to get revenge for what he did to my home world. Now, you do have Thor tell Beta Ray Bill, no, you're wrong. I'm not corrupted at all. Like, I'm actually working for Galactus. And so you have Beta Ray Bill attack Thor, still thinking that Thor is corrupted by Galactus, but then you have Thor just backhand Beta Ray Bill down to a nearby planet. Now, you do have Thor explain things to Beta Ray Bill. And what I mean by explaining things, I don't mean that you actually have Thor tell Beta Ray Bill why he's working for Galactus. Instead, you actually have Thor telling Beta Ray Bill, listen, we are not on the same power level anymore. Because originally, when Thor was just your god of thunder, yeah, him and Beta Ray Bill were on the same level. But of course, when Thor became king of Asgard, the All Father, of course, Thor became stronger than Beta Ray Bill. But then you have to add the idea of cosmic powers also being added to Thor. And so Thor is even stronger than he ever was before this book or any book at all. And so right now, Beta Ray Bill does not stand a chance against Thor at all. And that is something you have Thor trying to explain to Beta Ray Bill. Now, in the middle of their conversation, you do have Galactus actually attack Thor to kind of say, listen, Thor, you are nothing without me because I gave you the power of cosmic. But at the same time, Thor is still stronger than Galactus because Thor is able to fight back against Galactus. Now, when I read this book, I did read some reviews that some people did not like the idea of Galactus being so weak in this book, but you have to realize earlier he fought against the Black Winter and he barely survived. On top of that, Thor is really powerful, and so you have to add in those factors to say why Galactus is actually losing to Thor. Now, of course, this actually does lead back into another battle between Thor and Beta Ray Bill. Now, of course, you do have Beta Ray Bill being able to go toe-to-toe with Thor. And honestly, I feel like I missed something because earlier, Thor was able to beat down Beta Ray Bill and told Beta Ray Bill we're nowhere on the same power level anymore. But right now, they're basically acting on the same power level to a degree. But either way, you do have the two characters fight against one another. Now, Beta Ray Bill is very upset with Thor because he knows that Thor is the god, or not the god, but the king of Asgard. And he feels like as a king, Thor should not be working with Galactus, that Thor should be sending in an army of Asgardians to deal with the Black Winter. But this is Beta Ray Bill not really understanding the full idea of the Black Winter. It's just him seeing Thor working with Galactus, and that makes him very angry. Now, for you new Thor fans out there who don't really know Beta Ray Bill was one of the first few people to be able to pick up Thor's hammer. And that was huge back in the early days of Marvel Comics. Because for years and years and years, it was just Thor was the only one worthy enough to pick up the hammer. But then Beta Ray Bill appeared out of nowhere and he was also able to pick up the hammer. Now, the reason why I'm mentioning this right now because you have Thor actually throw his hammer at Beta Ray Bill, but Beta Ray Bill was able to catch it, which of course does stop the hammer. Now, it does not mean the hammer belongs to Beta Ray Bill now. It just means that Beta Ray Bill is worthy to pick up the hammer. Now, with that being said, it's still Thor's hammer. And so you have Thor actually try to recall it back to him. Now, we need to jump back in the past one more time because I do want to explain something for you guys real quickly. It's all about Beta Ray Bill. Let me explain. So, Beta Ray Bill was one of the first few people able to pick up Thor's hammer, but Marvel couldn't have two people being Thor's. And so what they did instead was they basically had Beta Ray Bill get his own hammer. And so right after Beta Ray Bill had picked up Thor's hammer, Thor and Beta Ray Bill were transported back to Asgard, where of course Beta Ray Bill met Odin, and Odin gave Beta Ray Bill his own hammer, of course called Stormbreaker. And so with that being said, it led to Beta Ray Bill actually getting his own hammer and just being out there in Marvel Comics as a dude with magical powers from Asgard, but not being Asgardian. Now, of course, this actually leads up to Stormbreaker actually being broken. And what I mean by that is because a Beta Ray Bill will not let go of the hammer of Thor, you have Thor actually call Stormbreaker over, and you have Thor take Stormbreaker and smash it against his own hammer, which of course leads into Stormbreaker just breaking apart. And so now Beta Ray Bill no longer has a hammer, and that right there is very huge. Now, after that moment right there, you actually do have Thor asking Beta Ray Bill to just give up, to basically give up here and now, because now Beta Ray Bill no longer has a hammer to use. But here comes the problem though. Beta Ray Bill does not want to give up. Beta Ray Bill wants to kill Galactus. He wants to kill Thor for working for Galactus. And so now you have Beta Ray Bill tell Thor, we are no longer brothers. Now, they're not actually brothers. It's just that they're brothers in arms. And so with that being said, it's Thor saying, great, this man who I looked at as a brother now hates me because I'm working with the guy who basically destroyed his home world, or his second home world. And so Thor is kind of like, if he's not going to stop, then I can't stop, which means that you have Thor actually thinking about continuing to fight against Beta Ray Bill, even though Beta Ray Bill is basically depowered right now. Not completely depowered, but mostly depowered. But that is the moment you have Lady Sif appear. Because remember, Lady Sif replaced Heimdall, and Lady Sif now controls the Bifrost, which gives her the ability to teleport almost anywhere between the 10 realms. And so she was able to teleport right in front of Thor and Beta Ray Bill. But when she does that, you actually do have Lady Sif tell Thor if he takes one step closer to Beta Ray Bill, they are going to fight. And of course, this is where we are going to end today's comic book video, to kind of leave you guys on a cliffhanger. But basically right now we could possibly see Thor fighting against Lady Sif in the next video. So with that being said, please leave me a like down below and subscribe. Also, if you have any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But guys, I'll see y'all next time. Later.